Okay, so lessons from acquiring 5 million very, very young users. Bit about Job Today, just to give you a bit of context. I guess some of you are familiar in the room, but some are not. We are active in the UK and Spanish markets only. So Job Today was started just over 3 years ago, and the idea of the platform is to connect small businesses and great candidates in minutes. Our co-founders identified a gap in the market where the very, very small chains of restaurants or bars or fashion stores, if someone calls in sick today, there wasn't really a solution that enables you from the mobile phone to quickly find great candidates to come in at work and do the job today or tomorrow very, very quickly. So we aim at the whole platform is built around chat and communication and engagement between employers and job seekers. And we really, when we develop our product, we think, is it going to solve an immediate and kind of urgent hiring need? Are we helping employers achieve that and job seekers find jobs quickly? Now, one key thing to also mention before I go on with the presentation is that up until a few months ago, we were exclusively mobile. And when I say mobile, I mean not mobile web, but native apps for iOS and Android. You couldn't use Job Today as a job seeker unless you downloaded our app. Our website was literally a link to Google Play and the App Store. What this means is two things. We had zero traffic coming from Google and SEO. From speaking with people in the industry, with you guys, my impression is that loads of the job boards depend on SEO traffic. And they also depend on things like job alerts and emails and things like that. We had neither of those things. We grew to over 5 million users purely with mobile app traffic, organic coming to the app stores and Google Play. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we achieved that growth through marketing. Earlier this year in April, we hit 100 million applications processed through Job Today. We hit the 100 million applications mark less than 3 years after releasing a very, very early beta product in Spain throughout 2015. This is the graph that shows our success that we had in terms of the volume of small and medium-sized businesses we're acquiring over the past 3 years. And then the blue bar represents the CPA, the cost per acquisition we're paying for every new business that joins the platform. We had tremendous success. This is the chart that is showing only the business side, the employer side, but our job seeker charts look very, very similar, and I'm going to talk more about the job seekers in a minute. So how did we get there? Obviously, there is a few things that need to be present. Great product, great team, and a bit of cash. I'm not going to lie to you. We were lucky to have access to VCs and to funding to be able to invest in marketing. Otherwise, it's pretty much impossible to hit the numbers that we have been hitting. But outside of that, I'm going to cover 3 things today. And the themes that I'm going to go through is we made sure that we don't waste time and resources with channels that don't work or that are not scalable. We very rigorously quickly identify what's the scalability of a marketing channel, what's the opportunity, and if it's not massive, if it's not a 10x accelerator, we just ignore that. We don't waste time on that. We had to learn how to measure correctly mobile, how to measure correctly digital channels and non-digital channels, because that helps you optimize, that helps you spend your money smarter in a more efficient way. And then obviously, you need great product. And what we have decided to do very early on is build a product for our youngest users. When we build Job Today, when we release something new specifically for the job seeker side of the platform, we think, is this going to be helpful? Is this going to be applicable and easy to use and understandable from a 16 years old, from a 17 years old, from an 18 years old? If it's not a feature that an 18-year-old can use, then we just don't do that. And I'm going to give you a couple of specific examples of how that works. Right, so over the past 3 years, we've tested many channels out there. As I said in the beginning, we're only active in 2 markets, Spain and the UK, and our go-to-market strategy in 2015 and 2016 has been released for a few months with a telesales and feed sales team, very below-the-line tactics, until we make sure that there is a product market fit. And after that, very quickly, when we're sure that we're on the right path, that what we have is usable and a good fit for the audiences that we target. We very quickly activate digital marketing, and we also were lucky enough to have access to TV advertising and out-of-home advertising. Now, even though we built a product for young people, for the new generation of people, there is still a place for TV advertising and out-of-home advertising out there. Otherwise, the scalability is very difficult to reach. You can see the exponential growth that we've achieved. There's very different ways that you build creative and targeting and optimization for these channels, though, so I'm going to go through that in a bit more details now. But first of all, before I go into how we do marketing for the job seeker specifically, what we wanted to do is understand our users. So we set up interviews and we spoke with dozens and hundreds of job seekers, of young people. And some controversial statements. And to be fair, we didn't hear anything extremely surprising. We knew the young people are digital and on their phone all day, and they use and consume it in a different way. But you were a bit surprised by the extent of which that was happening. I get most of my news through Snapchat. What? I didn't even know. I'm like not that old, but didn't even know you can get news through Snapchat. How does it even work? I didn't know that. Who needs a TV if you have YouTube? Right, fair enough. Our media is biased. I use Facebook and Snapchat to stay informed. Okay. You might disagree or agree with that, and it might make sense to you, or not. But that doesn't matter. This is how young people stay informed. This is what they use, and this is how they live their lives. So we thought, okay, so we're just going to concentrate on this. And the next step we took is forced ourselves to understand how all these platforms work, how Snapchat works, even if you don't use it. Get on there, use it, force yourself to use it, read and speak to people, understand how they use it. And through these channels, we've achieved that tremendous growth in terms of job seekers. We are concentrating, as of today, 95% of our job seeker marketing on mobile, on Snapchat and Instagram. We've tested mobile advertising platforms, anything that's out there, third-party networks, whatever you name it. For us, it wasn't worth doing. The fraud and the scam and the effort that goes into making sure things work makes it like not feasible for us. Facebook is crazy good at acquiring small and medium-sized businesses. Their targeting works really well, and it allows us to acquire employers en masse at a very low cost. Good engaged employers on mobile. Snapchat and Instagram are much better for job seekers. Facebook for employers, Snapchat and Instagram for job seekers, and Google, of course. Now, what we also need to make sure is that ignore tracking installs and ignore tracking registrations. So every platform and every campaign that we use, we track and optimize towards the in-app events, such as applying for a job or on the job seeker side or posting a job on the employer side. If you only look at installs or registrations, you're missing the point. Every platform behaves very differently, and getting installs and registrations is irrelevant to our business at least, and I'm assuming it's irrelevant to almost any business out there unless it drives engagement and activity on the platform. So make sure that your marketing team and people are very, very rigorously tracking the events that matter for you and ignore everything else. I've had numerous conversations with people in the industry who ask me, you spend hundreds of thousands of euros every month, what's your cost per install? I don't know. I don't care. Why should I care about my cost per install? I care about my cost per application, my cost per job, and things like that. There's a metric which I also recommend your marketing team use, and this is impression to conversion. This is a metric which, funnily, does not exist in any platform out there by default. You can't add a column to tell you impression to conversion cost. And it's funny because most of the media that you buy out there on Google and Facebook and Snapchat and whatever, well, not so much on Google, but on Facebook, is you pay per impression, you pay per 1,000 impressions. So calculating what's the least impressions you can serve for the least amount of money to drive the highest amount of conversions is really important. Because sometimes you can get a creative which is really good at driving CTR, click-through rate, but then maybe then you misled the audience in your creative and they didn't get what they were hoping for on the landing page or the app, and they're not going to convert. So tracking the full journey from serving the impressions into getting the conversions is really, really important. And then obviously, video is king today on social media. We every now and then try to do static creatives and images in carousel, and it's pointless. Every video creative we ever had, as shitty as it might be, as we've done it in the cheapest way possible, always outperforms static creatives and anything else you can produce. So get your video creative game an update. Some of the creatives we've been using, nothing revolutionary. We try to convey emotions. These are employer-targeted creatives, obviously. We try to be a bit both, but make sure that it's something visual, that it's something that people can quickly understand in a few seconds. On the Jobseeker side, one thing that I didn't mention is Snapchat is very different in terms of how people use it. When we first started using it, Snapchat has a 10-second length limit for their video, so you cannot upload a creative that's longer than 10 seconds. And we were just like, okay, that's how, 10 seconds is nothing, what can you say in 10 seconds? We learned to do that, and then over literally a few weeks, we actually learned the best performing videos were with a length of less than 6 seconds. 4-5 seconds is what works best, because this is the attention span of the 18 years old that use Snapchat. They'll never watch something that's longer than 5 seconds. If you can't get your message across in 5 seconds, you're doing it wrong. You can't win it at Snapchat, and you think, oh, Snapchat doesn't work. No, it works. You just need to learn how to do it properly. Right. I'm just going to go through the next few slides quickly, and I'm happy to chat about it after that with people that are interested in that, because it's a little bit more lower-level tactical thing, but re-engagement ads and retargeting ads. I've been in the digital marketing industry for many years now, and re-engagement and retargeting ads is something that everybody does because they work, right? You spend some money and you get some conversions, and you divide the money by the conversions, and then you get your CPA, and it's always super low, and yay, re-engagement ads work. And I've always been slightly even infuriated by the fact how little scrutiny there is in that measurement methodology, because no one, I've met very few people who are going in details to try and see what's the uplift actually delivered by re-engagement ads, measure it properly to understand the real cost they're paying. Because there's cost that you pay to acquire these users in the first place. And then these users, even you without re-engaging with them or retargeting them, they're still going to deliver some conversions to you. So why do you measure it in such a primitive and basic way? It's been beyond my mind. So what we've decided to do is so this is how you usually test and track campaign budget, number of conversions, blah, blah, you calculate. That's wrong. So what we've done is specifically with Facebook, we use the Facebook SDK, and we set up a custom event to fire at random for 50% of the users that we acquire through Facebook. So if you join Job today as a job seeker, you have an equal chance of getting in our control or test group. And then we only run re-engagement ads for our test group. And these were just basic re-engagement ads. Come and apply for more of these jobs or similar jobs, or showing them jobs they visited but didn't really apply for. And then in that way, you get your test group and you see like pre-campaign period and campaign period. You kind of calculate the difference in conversions. But then you have the control group, and then you see what was the behavior of the control group, and then you can compare the two, and then you can make the calculations to estimate what's the actual uplift that the test campaign delivered through the re-engagement campaign, And in this way, you can only calculate your cost per conversion based on the uplift in conversions. And then you can even go to the extent to take your original CPA for acquiring these users and make it even more complicated. But the outtake of this is make sure your marketing teams, if and when they're running re-engagement and retargeting ads, they measure them properly, because otherwise they're missing the point. And you might be spending dollars on retargeting campaigns that you don't have to spend because you would have gotten those conversions anyway. It might be that Facebook and Google are just taking credit for conversions that would have happened anyway. Did it work? So what was the results? For us, we discovered it in some industries, hospitality versus cleaning or whatever else, marketing. Some industries it's worth running re-engagement ads, in some it's not. It just gives you a different perspective at how you run your marketing on digital. TV, okay, so we've done a bit of TV. If you guys run TV, there is a lot of tracking tools out there available. There's things like TVTY and YY and whatever else, I'm sure there's dozens by now, that allow you in real time to hook up your analytics systems, AppsFlyer or Google Analytics or whatever else you're using, in real time with the software which detects with a video or audio signature when a TV ad goes live on which channel and which program and so on and so forth. And it basically allows you, very similarly to digital channels, to calculate at what time of the day, which of your creative, on which program, how much uplift in traffic or app installs it delivered to your website. Now, there's two things to note here. This does not give you the actual cost per acquisition from TV, because obviously not everybody you acquire through, that's not the only purpose of TV, right? It's more long-term and branding and so on and so forth. So don't take this as an actual cost per acquisition, but that will help you optimize towards the right channels, the right creatives, the right programs, and so on and so forth. And another thing is, opposite to when you're doing digital marketing, when you use this software to track TV, don't look at the in-app events because they take more time to complete. Only look at the installs or the visits to the website, because that's the immediate action that the algorithms that run on the back end can understand in that time frame. And that time frame is dynamic depending on how long the TV advert goes and what's the spike in traffic. So opposite to digital, when you track TV, look at visits and installs only to understand what works for you and for your audience. Out of home, a quick slide on that. It's the most difficult channel. I can't get my head around that. I can't track it. I come from a digital background. If I can't track anything and optimize towards something, I just feel lost. But there's ways to do it. We've tried isolating territories, times, and whatnot. In the end of the day, it's very difficult to put your finger at what works and what doesn't. But what we've done a few times and what we've tested is, we only run out of home, and it might be obvious to you guys, but it wasn't to us because we were very inexperienced with that. We only run out of home campaigns in combination with other marketing channels. Most often that's digital. If you can afford to run some TV as well, that's great. But the more marketing channels you run at the same time, there's a compounding effect in the actual results that you get. And one other thing that we noticed is that with out of home, there's the most lag from the activity. So with TV and digital, when you stop doing it, you see the drop off straight away. With out of home, you see a bit of uplift. Your campaign ends, but then for a lot of time, the activity and the uplift from that, the baseline stays higher for much longer, if not like forever. So it's a very expensive channel. I wouldn't recommend it, actually. From what we've tried, it's probably the one that we have least confidence in and what worked the least best for us in terms of what we understand. But if you really need to grow and at scale very quickly, and if you are releasing in a new territory and you need to build a little bit of brand, you can also go into that. Be brave with the creatives. I mean, I see so many boring creatives out there, it's ridiculous. Not saying these are great or very brave, but a bit of color and all of that. The super fast hiring, yeah, anyone? No less, okay. That was the most controversial creative with it. Everybody was telling us that's stupid and just don't do it. The company that prints, they didn't want to print it for us. We spent a week arguing. We're just like, no, that's creative, it's stupid, don't print it. We're like, no, that is great, just print it. So be brave with that. It might not work, but at least you know you've done something different to all the other brands. Some more of that. Cool, and then I'm gonna wrap up in the next minute, but just to give an example of how we build a product that's a little bit different, or at least we believe it's a little bit different. So for a long time, we stayed away from the whole CV concept and using CVs. On jobs today, you don't really need a CV. You register on the app, and we ask you a couple of questions, and you could start apply for jobs straight away. And the job application is effectively opening a chat message, not unlike WhatsApp interface, with the employer who posts the job, and the whole conversations happens in the chat. Now, having said that, though, we noticed that over time, the more and more employers we acquired and the bigger guys they join, we found that all of them are asking in the chat, can you please send me your CV? And that was a blocker for our job seekers, because the young people don't have CVs. They don't know how to build CVs. They are annoyed. They can't use Word documents and type stuff there, and it's super frustrating for them. So I thought, okay, how can we make it sure that our job seekers have a CV without them doing the work? And we've recently released what we call the Job Today CV, smart name, which is a tool to allow job seekers to build their CV, to share it with literally one tap with employers, to share it outside of Job Today. They can print it as a PDF version. They can use it on mobile. They can share a link. It's super flexible. You can use it in many, many different ways. But that's not new, okay? That's just a CV rebranded a little bit. What we think we've done smart, and the reason we're seeing huge adoption in it is in the way we get the information from the job seeker. We've recently run a survey, and over 80% of job seekers who have completed CV with us didn't realize they have a CV with us. And they don't know how they ended up with all that information to have a nice and great looking CV on Job Today. The way we do it is when you join Job Today, and this is different for every user and every job, but over the course of your first 10 applications, which happens very quickly with Job Today, job seekers apply for 20 jobs in the first few days. But over the course of your first few applications, we're going to ask you one question here, one question there, one question here, one question there. If you apply for 10 jobs without realizing, for literally 5 seconds per application, you have built out your full CV. There's no drop-off rate anywhere. The complete rate is almost the same as if there was none of these questions. But to allow job seekers, young job seekers, to have a beautiful looking CV very quickly without them doing the work. We think that's pretty cool, and it's been working really well for us. Cool, so I think that's all from me. That's just a sum up, but I'm out of time. So basically focus on the channels that are scalable, measure it right, and understand your audience is the outtakes you can take from it today. I'll be around if you have any more questions later. Thanks for listening.